So Chelsea have gone toe-to-toe with the treble winners. Not that you'd know that, by the way, from the atmosphere outside the ground. Look it up. But they've gone and drawn 1-1 at the Etihad with another spirited performance. Let's be honest, the 4-4 at home against City basically was a win for Chelsea. So I'm calling that 4 points for the Blues against the treble winners. Not bad really, is it? And I have to say there's so much for us to talk about in this video, right? The tactical setup, some unbelievable performances, and I'm going to save a little point for the very end where I'm going to discuss one player that everyone's sort of saying, yeah, they had a pretty good game, they made some pretty good impact to the performance, but I don't think they did, and I'm going to explain why. But the first thing that I want to get into is how an under fire Mauricio Pochettino set up against one of the best managers of all time. It was another squad that we could have predicted, I think, with the team that we have. It was a very young team. We knew that was going to be coming in. The average age was only 23.9. So again, one of our younger setups. We had Petrovic in goal, Chilwell on the left, Colwill next to him, then Disasi, Gusto, Enzo and Caicedo as the holding two. Then you had Raheem Sterling, Cole Palmer and Gallagher as the players in behind Nicholas Jackson, who was effectively the number 9. And as I say, that's kind of what you expect. Obviously, we had Colwill coming into defence after his injury. And then obviously bearing in mind that we still had Badiashile out injured and Thiago Silva out injured, who both look like they probably will miss the Carabao Cup final. So big loss there. But is it as much of a big loss when you've got Colwill playing as well as he did? And we'll get into the defenders coming up soon. But I think overall what I would say is you've got players like Colwill and Gusto, 20. You've got Cole Palmer, 21. Jackson and Caicedo, 22. Enzo, 23. You've got Disasi, 25. You've got players, youthful players, up and down that pitch. And I have to say, when you look at that team sheet going forward now, you have to say that there is a lot of promise coming up. Oh, and by the way, all of these stats and these lineups that I get for all of these videos are from the SofaScore app, which you can download. There's a link in the description now, or there's a QR code if you want to get some of the similar stats to me. But anyway, let's look at the defensive shape in the first half. What I saw there was that it was pretty clear. We saw us setting up with a 4-5-1 effectively, and that's basically how I would have played it. That's how I would have set us up as well. Setting our team up for counter-attacking moments, for transitional moments on the football pitch. And when you go to a place like the Etihad, you're going to have to set up in that way, aren't you? You know, City had 70% possession in this game, a crazy amount, an amount that we really haven't conceded in a very, very long time. But we didn't necessarily need the ball in this game. What we needed to do was move it forward very quickly when City were attacking us, and we saw so many opportunities in the first half where we did exactly that. Obviously, you look at the average positions, you compare City to us, they were way higher up. You know, you look at how many players they had above the halfway line, it's basically the entire team. You know, they had at least 9 players, you know, very close to or in front of the halfway line, whereas you look at us and we only had 2 or 3 players on average above that. And I think more than anything that sort of shows the regression in the second half. But what it also shows is that City were putting immense pressure on us. And you have to say, to come in at half time, you know, without conceding a goal, that's testament to sort of showing that our defence was pretty good in that first half. And what I really liked about this setup, and you look at the average positions there, is that it was very equal. There wasn't any asymmetry on one side or the other, and all of the players were playing in the positions that they really should be playing in. Like, you look at our formations there, you've got Disasi as the deepest player, Colwill next to him. You've got 2 wing backs in Chilwell and Gusto that are pushing high and wide and really making the pitch as wide as they possibly can. You've got Enzo next to Caicedo, which I've been saying over and over and over again, we need to be getting as close as we can to Caicedo, because if he's isolated, it just doesn't make any sense. And you've seen all the pictures on Twitter, all of the banter that we've heard about our players. When there isn't a player near Caicedo, we look stupid and Poch looks like he's out of ideas. But in this game, it wasn't like that at all, was it? And it's funny, isn't it? Pep said before the game, and he said before a lot of Chelsea matches, that Chelsea's sort of like verticality and their width is something that scares him the most. And obviously, this guy's going to come out and he's always going to try and play his mind games. And he's the expert of overpraising and making you feel $1 million and then trying to exploit that sort of weakness in matches. But you can understand why he is praising us, because we were doing exactly that. We were stretching the pitch, making it high and wide so that crosses could come in and potential overloads on one of the wing areas could make a difference. Now, I don't want to blow my own trumpet here, but in a video that I'll show you right now, before the match, I was speaking to Joey and I said this. Their centre-back was basically in the middle of midfield. They always do this thing where they basically advance the centre-back and then they have these sort of like these free defenders left, basically, and then everyone else is attacking, right? I do think if we can exploit that properly, if we get some absolute pacey wingers running in behind them, then we do absolutely have a chance. And so look what happens after that. We get a chance to break and counter as quickly as we can, and we did just that. The first opportunity that we had was a beautiful ball from Cole Palmer, again with another amazing performance against his old team. They must be ruining that 45 million transfer, arguably one of the best transfers that we've done at the football club. He plays a ball through to Malo Gusto, who has amazing gas and amount of time to make the best out of that gas by taking the opportunity that Nathan Ake exposes. He is way too high up. You can see it in the screenshot. Way too high. Cole Palmer plays that ball through, and then Nicholas Jackson fluffs his lines. It just wasn't good enough from that perspective. But I want to talk about Malo Gusto very quickly before I get into Nicholas Jackson. I have to say, when you look at his stats and his overall performances for Chelsea, they have been absolutely brilliant. He comes in for Reece James, right? And let's be honest, Reece James is our best player. He's our most technical player. And there's a huge amount of pressure on Malo Gusto coming in as a 20-year-old player. And he just technically looks so good. He's press resistant. He's very good defensively. And like we're seeing here with this screenshot, he can put in a cross as well. And then you look at his overall stats for this season: 86% pass accuracy, 1.33 I should say key passes per game, 61% of dribbles, tackles, and a very clear above average progressive carry distance as well. When you look at the amount of time he's moving the ball forward and he's running onto players and sort of making very successful duels, it's huge. And that's, for me, all of those stats together, you look at that wheel, all of them indicate what a top player this guy can be. And bear in mind, he's 20 years old. And when you look at the game in particular against Man City, he's up against one of the best 1v1 dribblers in the world in Doku. And I think a lot of City fans, and the ones that I've been chatting to, were questioning what's sort of happening with Doku. Is he having a bit of a down moment in his career at Man City? But for me, it was all about Gusto's quality in that moment, and in the moments where he was attacking him, he just looked absolutely brilliant. And just defensively, he looked so solid. And it's a real mental state of affairs that we're saying now that we don't miss Reece James, isn't it? And I think that's testament to his performance. And I have to say, when we're talking about recruitment and our boys at the top, we haven't really given them a lot of praise recently. But I think absolutely this is one that we should give them praise for. But yeah, I just don't understand how Jackson hasn't slotted that way. Like, you look at the screenshot and you can see he's in acres of space, and you just really anticipate him to slot it home, take a touch. It was slightly behind him, but I honestly do think that most strikers in the league would score that. And so it makes you question Jackson's position, doesn't it? We've seen so much joy for him on the left-hand side. And when he seems to be in these central positions, sometimes he overthinks it and misses chances. But it's mad to say that, because overall we've really missed Jackson, and it's really good to have him back in the team after AFCON. And while you're there, if you're enjoying this tactical analysis, make sure you sub to this channel. I've got loads of collaborations coming up that I'm really excited to release to you guys. And by subbing, that's the only way you're going to get the content first. So big shout out to everyone that's here. We've got over 6,000 people. I'm so grateful to every single one of you. Now let's get back to Nicholas Jackson, because I think, we were talking about Jackson being better from a wing area back there. And I think that was encapsulated really by our goal. And you can see again, in this screenshot, there was an unbelievable interplay between Palmer and Jackson. Jackson does this beautiful back heel. Palmer then does an unbelievable ball through to him. Again, on the left-hand side, look at where Ake is on this screenshot. And again, don't want to blow my own trumpet, but pretty decent call there. And then that leaves us 2-on-2 with basically one of the fastest players I've ever seen in Kyle Walker. They're trying to stop Raheem Sterling. Now, I've been so down in the dumps, so negative about Raheem Sterling, but I have to say, the ball from Jackson, unbelievable, but Raheem takes an unbelievable touch, so composed against a player that is an unbelievable defender in Walker, and caresses the ball into that right hand corner. And as much as I have been down on him, you have to give him his credit. It's a brilliant finish, and that takes us in to half time without conceding a goal. We're 1-0 up. And, so many people, I was listening to a few podcasts before this game, so many people were writing us off saying it's going to be 4-1, 3-1. I don't think many people would have had the Chelsea win at half-time. And with one of our youngest defences this entire season, we kept them out in the first half. The treble winners. Haaland, De Bruyne, Alvarez, Doku. Players up and down that pitch that can score goals. And it's absolutely ridiculous. I'll tell you what it got me thinking. It got me thinking about who our best defensive pairing, our centre-back pairing is. And I have to say, you look at Colwill and Disasi and you can't really look past them at the moment, can you? I know they're young and, Colwill 20 years old, Disasi 25, coming into the league for the first time, but they're strong. They're pacey. They seem like they are building a bit of a good relationship. You've got Gusto and Disasi, Frenchman on the right hand side. You've got Chilwell and Colwill on the left hand side. Now this isn't FIFA. This isn't about green lines, but it is. Sometimes there is something in that, isn't there, about that connection between the two of them and also between the centre back pairing. And I think all of these things will really help. And if Thiago is injured and it looks like he is going at the end of the season, why would you not give these guys a bit of the run out? Now, let's go through them individually. Disasi, in this game, was insane. Celebrating every block as if he'd scored a goal. It was just brilliant. And I think this guy's been slowly developing throughout the entire season. We've been seeing moments of real quality from him. I think he was just a man possessed in this game. You look at it, 86% pass accuracy, 52 touches, 25 out of 29 passes completed, 16 clearances, 4 out of 4 aerial duels won, 3 blocks and 2 long balls completed. That's kind of a perfect defensive performance, isn't it? And I have to say, there were a lot of people doubting him and he's laughing at them now. And then Colwill, again, so good to have him back in the team. Good to have him back in his actual bloody formation and his position at centre-back. He looks so much better there. His pace isn't exposed. He's always in the right areas as well. And I have to say, he was putting pressure and he dealt with the best Premier League striker that we've seen in a very long time, and probably one of the best strikers in the world right now in Haaland. And Haaland was making mistake after mistake, and yes, that's probably due to some mistakes from him individually, but it's also come from the defence and having players around him to marshal him. And I feel that those two boys really did that, and Colwill, especially against Haaland, looked brilliant. While we're on the defence, I think there was one thing that I do want to talk about here, and it's mainly down our left, but it's also sort of just generally about far post runs. And we've seen this quite a lot in a few different games this season. We've seen players exacerbate that sort of far post area and looking for our lack of height and maybe lack of experience. Definitely not for Chilwell's side, but definitely looking at their lack of height and targeting them. And I think when you look at their goal, you can really see this. Now, this was a moment before their goal. You could see that Chilwell was looking very much at Haaland here, and Colwill was looking after him, but there is obviously a big amount of space behind Chilwell here. And bear in mind, this is with the 5 at the back formation that we saw. This wasn't a back 4 anymore. And Chilwell, for me, should be opening his body up and looking at that player in behind him, because when you look at the goal that they scored and you look at this screenshot, you can see that that Chilwell was completely occupied with Haaland. Now, that makes sense and it's smart because he's one of the biggest options, but what it allowed them to do was have Kyle Walker coming in from behind Chilwell when it goes over the top of him, and then Chilwell can't move quickly enough to press him down. And teams have done that over and over and over again at us, and that Walker shot bounces backwards and forwards and then comes out to Rodri, and that's how they get their goal. And look, it was a massive deflection and it was really harsh on Trev, who basically ends up scoring the own goal, really. I think it was probably going in anyway, and it didn't seem like Petrovic was going to get there. So, fair enough, very good finish from Rodri, and he's been immense for City. But this far post weakness needs to be addressed. And I know the coaching staff and the tactical team are huge fans of the channel, so I'm sure they'll be listening to this feedback and they will implement that for the cup final. So make sure you lads look out for the far post run in the final. We won't be conceding any goals from that point because they will have watched this video. You are most certainly welcome, Chelsea coaching team. Now, let's get on to the back five, because obviously we've been talking about it there. There was a switch that was made, and I've seen a lot of criticism actually for Pochettino by moving to this back five, and we saw it come in at about 70 minutes or so. Trev came on for Cole Palmer, I think it was, and it felt at that point that it was very much attack versus defence. The criticism that I've seen a few smatterings of was that, you know, we allowed ourselves to then be open and we weren't really attacking at that point. But let's be honest, if it was a back four or a back five, City were always going to put pressure on us. And it actually does make a lot of sense here. And I do want to give Mauricio Pochettino some credit here. You know, look at Caicedo and Enzo. They were knackered. Caicedo was on a yellow card. Then you've got Gallagher in front of them, also running around as much as he could. But again, looking relatively tired for Conor Gallagher. You know, he can run all day, but come on, they needed some support. And you looked at our young defence and you probably thought, yeah, we do need to strengthen this up. We do need to sort of shut up shop. And like I said, I don't think that changes the game massively. I don't think that means that City then get that goal. They were going to put pressure on us regardless of the situation. So for me, the key thing really is that we didn't score our chances. You know, it wasn't the formation change. We had so many opportunities to score goals. The Jackson miss, the Sterling miss in the first half, there were chances. And so really, when you're looking at the overall scoreline, the time that they scored their goal, 1-1 should have probably been 2-1 or 3-1 to Chelsea with our chances. Now, City missed their chances as well. They had a better XG and overall had more shots, but we had more shots on target. And so I think that can be revealing. You know, there's a lot of teams that can have shots all over the place, and that's good defence actually if you're getting teams having shots that aren't anywhere near the goal. And so yeah, for me it was just missing out on the chances. Now, before we leave the defence, we must give a very quick shout out to Petrovic in goal. It's going to be insane. It's going to be absolutely crazy if Sanchez comes into the team anytime soon when Petrovic is playing this good. You know, you look at it, 6 successful throws, 2 successful punches out of 2, 1 out of 1 successful high claims, 7 successful recoveries, 7 out of 18 long balls. Maybe that's his biggest weakness, but overall in a game against City where they're closing us down very highly, that's not that bad. And then 21 out of 33 successful passes. When you're thinking about, you know, amazing goalkeepers and a goalkeeper that's made a very good impact for us, Petrovic has got to be right up there. And I don't like all these rumours hearing that Sanchez could be near the team. I just think it's so harsh on him. And yeah, just huge shout out to Petrovic. Now, if we're talking about savings, quick mention on my clothing brand. It's a cheesy line, but you can save loads on streetwear. Go and check out Aveste, the home of independent streetwear. As I say, I've spent the last 2 years trying to find some clothes for you guys and put them all in one place. We've got 35 independent brands there, so go and check that out right now. Now, I've teased quite a lot about this player that seemed to be having an immense game, but I don't think he was at all. And I'm going to give you a few seconds now to try and guess who it was. Yep, it's Raheem Sterling. I knew you were all going to say that, and I know you know that I don't like him very much, but let me just pull something up that's going to explain why. This is a pass comparison map. This shows all of the passes from our players in this entire game. Look how many passes each of our players do. You know, Cole Palmer, he had 20. Raheem Sterling, he had 10 in the entire game. It's just mental. Like, you know, Nkunku comes on and he has 5 really good passes. He played for about a fifth of the time of Raheem Sterling. And, you know, when you look at the impact of Cole Palmer and you look at the impact of Gallagher, and they were both playing in relatively similar positions, there's just no excuse for Raheem Sterling. And for me, it was all set, the tone was set by that miss they had in the first half, the one-on-one that he just didn't score. And yes, he scored an unbelievable goal, and we do have to give him credit for that. It was a brilliant, brilliant finish against Kyle Walker and Edison, you know, 2 of the best defensive options you can get in the Premier League. But arguably, we should have been 1-0 up even before that chance, you know. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see what you think. Like, you know, am I being too harsh here? Or is this guy overall not being the best for Chelsea Football Club? And are there other options that we have on our bench? Not going to name any names in particular, but, you know, my boy Mudryk or Madueke, I'm just saying, could they contribute more to the team overall? But look, that's just one thing on Raheem Sterling. I'm really interested to see what you think on that. And overall, let's talk about the game as a whole. I think this is a positive result for us. And, you know, it doesn't always feel like that when you concede a goal in the last few minutes of the game. But I don't think we're as shit as we generally think we are. Like, we're still in 10th place, but this is another result that you have to praise Poch for. Like, he set up the team very well. We worked so well in the first half, but overall, we just didn't have enough gas in the tank to compete against, you know, a treble winning team. And I think, like I say, when you look at how young that team were and how much sort of progression they can have as a unit, there are so many reasons to think that this is going to be more positive, and the youthful setup can improve and get better. And overall, the state of the club is on the upward curve, even though sometimes we think that it isn't. And next week's game, the cup final, is season defining. You know, if we go on to win that cup final, there's so much less pressure on Mauricio Pochettino, and he probably stays beyond the summer and gets next season to try and compete in the Premier League, and he gets the chance to sort of grow with this squad. If we win that, there's so much pressure off, there's so much momentum going forward. We are a cup winning team. If we don't win it, then there's still so many questions about Chelsea. There's so many questions about the squads. And so, yes, huge game. I'm really interested to see how it goes. I'm nervous already. Now, the one thing I will say, we are going to live stream that, Joey and I. It's going to be on Joey's channel, so make sure you look out for news on that. I'm so buzzing to stream the game with him, and it's going to be an absolute massive one. So make sure you tune in with that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, please do. And yeah, I'll see you for the cup final.